Hello, everybody. Today I want to talk about labor law. Most people become workers rather than owners. In fact, only about 10% of the population owns some type of business, even if that's a side business or one out of their home. We also know that 2 out of every 3 millionaires today own a business. So if you want to get rich, the path is pretty clear. You need to own a business. But businesses are difficult to own and manage, which is why so few do. There are some aspects of owning a business that are the most challenging, and right at the top is labor law. In particular, we have to remember that all laws have a cost, and all laws affect the profitability and productivity of a business. So let's talk a little bit more about labor law and the impact. I think in some ways, an impact that many of us don't recognize. First, the cost. Anytime you have a law that requires a business to operate in a certain way, there's a cost to it. In California, the costs are quite significant. We've recently added for part-time employees that they get sick leave. In essence, it could be a good thing. If you're a part-time employee and you have a job and you're out of work, you certainly don't make any money. However, we have to look at the flip side. And in this discussion, we want to talk a lot about what I call the flip side. If you're a business and you employ somebody, you have to pay them. If they don't show up to work and you still have to pay them, that money has to come from somewhere. And there's a cost in having to fill that position that's vacant. So you're now paying double the cost for something that you used to only pay once. That money has to come from somewhere. The flip side. It either comes from raising the prices of your products or services to pay for the double salaries that you now have to pay, or it's less income, less revenue, less profits for the owner. There's a misconception that owners make a tremendous amount of profit so they can afford it. But never forget, the reason people own a business is because they think they can make more money. If they don't end up making more money, they often won't start a business. If they don't start a business, many of us don't have a job. So we have to remember that profits are good, and profits are why people own a business. And the more profits they can make, the more businesses people will make. But remember that the cost just for sick leave can be significant. There's other costs as well. For instance, if you have a minimum wage, if you make a product that doesn't sell much, or you don't have a large market, you may not make many revenues. But if much of your revenue goes towards a minimum wage, then it may not be beneficial, cost beneficial, to make that product. So a minimum wage even can be destructive to owning a business. This is not to say that the minimum wage or sick leave for part-time employees isn't necessarily a bad thing. We just have to remember that there is a cost to that. The second thing is productivity of a business. There's many laws that are impacting the way in which we have to manage our employees. Again, some good, some maybe not so good. FMLA comes to mind, Family Medical Leave Act, which basically says is if you have some type of health issue, not necessarily a serious one, but just a health issue, that you're allowed to be away from the workplace, and in some states you get paid for it. It's often paid for by the government. How does the government pay for it? Well, each employee has to pay a certain amount of what they make into a fund, and then that fund gets paid out for those people who have some kind of health condition. The health condition can be as easy as a cold, in fact. There's many think that it has to be a serious health condition or you get hospitalized, and that's not the case anymore. It's really fairly easy to fall under the FMLA law. But when someone's away from the workplace, again, their position has to be filled. There's a cost for that. Remember that even though you may not be paying somebody out of the employee's pocket, out of the business, because they're on FMLA leave, they have a health condition, you still have to pay their benefits and other costs like liability insurance, even workers' comp. So there's a cost when somebody's not in the workplace. That cost has to be met by somebody. What we've seen in some states is some of those costs are so significant that employers are not choosing to be in business anymore. And that is not beneficial to us all. So the intent is to remember that labor and labor law can be impacting to a workplace and to profitability. There needs to be balance. We always have to look at the flip side. Everybody enjoy the day.